noticed a link for a tilapia farming
Yeah,
website.
that's probably Edgar's. Was that at the top?
I don't know where it was. I just noticed it and I wasn't smart enough to write it down while I was there.
Yeah, it's probably at the top. Yeah, and you can go on the site and I can give you that information too.
Now it's down lower.
Is it down low? Is it down the bottom then maybe?
No, it wasn't too far. I see where I can find you on the web.
There it is right there.
There it is, yeah, right there on the lower right.
He's been great. Very, very good help. Reliable fish. And I searched, I called, I got on the internet and I did a ton of stuff, and after a while I got frustrated, and my better half, she's much more patient than I am with this type of stuff. She goes, let me handle it. She got on there and she came out of the office pulling her hair out. And she kept at it where I was like, heck with it, find something else. And this was the only guy that really reacted to us, that was really helpful. And we'd order fish from other people and like, well, the PayPal thing went through, but we'd have to call back and get refunded. And, oh, sorry, all our fish died. We just do this as a hobby, by the way. This guy's a pro. There's quite a few perch farms I found in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, there's a few perch farms in Montana and warm water fish farms here. There's like 5, and they are on double secret lockdown. And the only reason they're around is because they've been around since like the 40s and 40s. So it's really hard to get any fish. One guy said that, he goes, I like what you're doing so much, I'll just give you a bunch of bass if we have some extra bass coming in. But they were redoing their bass canal, so he didn't know if he was going to get any.
What do you mean double secret lockdown? What?
Well, okay, so bucket biology happened in Montana, back in the 40s, because people wanted, packers would get into these little lakes and they, oh, that's our lake that we were packing people to. Let's introduce a sport fish.
Oh.
So we have something else besides hunting. The kids can go fishing or whatever. So that started happening, and then that's why our fisheries are, yeah. Well, you look at the native, non-native list, and there's like this many native, and there's about that many non-native fish that they can't control. But they're accepting them because they've been here for so long, and they've talked about poisoning. Right now, they're talking about poisoning Knoxon Reservoir to get the pike out of there, so they can get the bull jockey return back in there. So that's why they said, all right, we need to make a law that it is a $5,000 fine for transporting fish illegally from body water. It's about $300 or $400 per fish. After that, 5 to 10 years in jail, loss of your fishing and hunting licenses for life. So it's like, okay, you got me at the $5,000 fine. So that's where, they did it for a good reason, to protect what we have. So with that said, we have to kind of get in the back door and try to figure out a way to say, hey guys, okay, we understand that, we respect it. We want to do everything that we can so that our fish aren't going to get into any river system. And that's what you have to do. You have to approve that your facility, even during a flood period, isn't going to overflow. What are you going to do with your guts? Things like that is what they want to, what are you going to do with your entrails? Because say we're outside just cleaning our fish and throwing the fish guts in a bucket, and we leave it laying there for a day or two, and a bird comes by and gets some fish guts and gets some bacteria on it, and they go fly to Whitefish River and land and eat the fish guts, and then that bacteria or that egg gets into this. A lot of variables, but that's what they're, which is understandable. So those are things you got to prove to on a commercial level to that we're going to do it. But it's crazy because we're allowed. I can order some prawns tomorrow if I want, as a hobbyist. And I'm fine in Montana with it. But the moment that I say, hey, I'm commercial, I want to sell my fish, no way. Matter of fact, there's no fish processing plant in this area. So you'd have to ship your fish. I can't remember what the closest one was. It's somewhere in Washington. There's a few small ones, but they're not certified FDA commercial to bring your fish in. There was one North Star fishery in Whitefish, and there's another little one. I can't remember the name of it right now, and white fishing, those are the only ones I know of. But as far as a certified kitchen that can handle all the fish guts and something to do with all that, there's not one in existence. So there's a whole nother avenue. You think about circle economics, you got your tilapia farm, you got your fish farm you're feeding, you got your ag store you're buying food from, you've got people that you're selling lettuce to, you got people you're providing fish to. So there's a whole impact of things that could happen. If there's enough people out there growing fish, and this was a big enough industry, then somebody could open up a fish butchery type of a facility, or a butcher shop, a local butcher shop that already exists could add it on. I mean, heck, there used to be 3 canneries in this area, you know, so it's not that it's impossible, it's just the economics weren't there anymore. So
What about that butcher up in Columbia Falls? That specialty.
Perfect cuts.
Perfect cuts, he gets stuff that's already been killed, gutted, and he just gets fillets and then he smokes it.
Nice.
But, I mean, if you could, that's definitely, if you could find people like that, and if you could provide that fish that way, or the other way in Montana to do it too, that I thought of, is you kill the fish, throw it on ice, and there you go, that's what's for sale. You don't gut it for them, you don't behead it for them, so you've kind of getting around all those. There's no fish handling, there's no internal disease, you know, for them to get in there. So that's one way, but it's kind of a gray area, I think, so.
You said walleye don't work well?
They can, you just need a bigger area for them, deeper water, bigger tank, so they're a little bit more expensive, but yes, they would work very well. Crappie work well, black crappie, carp, koi, goldfish, anything, just about any fish can work. The salmon can work if you could grow saltwater vegetables, you know, but trout, there's definitely, you could set up a trout farm and do it. You know, like if you go down to Ronan, that trout farm down there that guy's got, you know, who knows, you might be able to do a little experiment off of that, you know, off of his filters, and I bet you could do pretty well. I mean, if I'm able to grow vegetables off my little fish pond that I have up there, it's not even, you know, it's 100 feet by 50 feet wide or something like that, and I just got, you know, 20, 30 trout in there, about a dozen perch, and several hundred goldfish. But if I can do it, grow it off of it, then you can, any fishery can.